Assalamu alaikum. Today we will discuss about carcinoid tumor. Carcinoid tumors are the tumors which arise from the neuroendocrine cells. That is why these tumors are also known as well differentiated neuroendocrine tumors. Carcinoid tumors occur more often in the gastrointestinal tract. They can occur in any part of the gastrointestinal tract involving the esophagus. They may occur in the stomach, in the pancreas, in the small intestine, large intestine, liver, gallbladder, appendix, or anus. Other than the gastrointestinal tract, the other common site of the carcinoid tumors are the lungs. So they can also occur in the lungs, but less common as compared to the gastrointestinal tract. We know that the gastrointestinal tract lining consists of different layers. The outermost layer is adventitia or serosa, then we have the thick muscular layer, then we have submucosa, and then we have mucosa. These carcinoid tumors occur more often in the submucosa, and sometimes they may also occur transmurally, that is involving all the layers of the gastrointestinal tract. These neuroendocrine tumors or carcinoid tumors occur results in a syndrome which is known as carcinoid syndrome. Actually, these neuroendocrine tumors are responsible for the release of certain hormones, and these hormones are responsible for producing certain effects. For example, they can cause diarrhea, shortness of breath, or flushing. These conditions together form a syndrome which is known as the carcinoid syndrome. As we know that these carcinoid tumors are arising from the neuroendocrine cells, the neuroendocrine cells receive signals from the neurons. For example, there is a hormone known as somatostatin. This somatostatin hormone is released from the hypothalamus as well as from the GIT, and it acts on the neuroendocrine cells. When this somatostatin hormone acts on the neuroendocrine cells via specialized receptors present on the surface of the neuroendocrine cells, then it affects the release of certain hormones. Either it increases the release of hormones or it may decrease the release of hormone. There are certain hormones which are released from the neuroendocrine cells. Some of these hormones are amines, some are polypeptides, and some are prostaglandins. The important amines include serotonin and histamine. Polypeptide include bradykinin, which is an important vasodilator, and prostaglandins are also vasodilators. The somatostatin, which is released from the hypothalamus and acting via receptors on the neuroendocrine cells, inhibit the release of serotonin. Thus, the release of serotonin is inhibited by the somatostatin. Now, normally what happens that these neuroendocrine cells are responsible for the release of serotonin. Now, what happens to this serotonin? This is a normal condition. First of all, we are talking about normal physiology. This serotonin is taken by the portal circulation to the liver, and in the liver, metabolism of serotonin takes place, and some of the serotonin is converted into a compound called 5-hydroxyindolactic acid. This 5-hydroxyindolactic acid is then eliminated via urine. Then the remaining part of the serotonin um, is taken to the systemic circulation, and when it uh, enters into the systemic circulation, then it produces certain effects. For example, when the serotonin is taken to the GIT, then it increases the peristaltic movements of GI tract. When it is taken to the blood vessels, then it causes vasoconstriction, and when it enters into the connective tissues of the heart, then it causes stimulation of the fibroblasts, which in turn result in the formation of collagen. This is the normal physiology. Now, if there is any mutation in the DNA of these neuroendocrine cells, then it may result in uncontrolled growth and uncontrolled division of these neuroendocrine cells, and as a result, a carcinoid tumor is formed. When there is a formation of carcinoid tumor, then we know that there is increased production of serotonin and other hormones which are released which are being released from the neuroendocrine cells, and these hormones, when produced in excess, result in carcinoid syndrome. The carcinoid tumors are slow growing tumors. They can metastasize. The most important sites where carcinoid tumors occur involve the small intestine, large intestine, stomach, pancreas, liver, lungs, ovaries, and thymus. Liver is the most important site where metastasis takes place. Therefore, we can say that liver is the organ where carcinoid tumors can occur as primary tumors, as well as they may occur as secondary tumors due to metastasis. These tumors, when involve the liver, causing damage to the liver, and the liver function of the liver is compromised, and liver is not able to metabolize the hormones which are released from these carcinoid tumors, as a result of which these hormones begin to accumulate in the body, build up in the body, and produce certain signs and symptoms known as carcinoid syndrome. Now, what are the hormones which are responsible for causing the carcinoid syndrome? We know that mainly histamine, bradykinin, and serotonin are the hormones, out of which histamine and bradykinin are the amines which are produced from the serotonin is also an amine which are produced from the carcinoid tumors. When there is increase in the concentration of histamine and bradykinin, then it results in vasodilation, and due to vasodilation there is flushing. When there is increase in serotonin, then it causes fibrosis, resulting in tricuspid valve regurgitation and pulmonary valve stenosis. It also causes bronchoconstriction, due to which there is shortness of breath, asthma, and wheezing. This increased serotonin also cause decrease in the concentration of vitamin B3 or niacin, due to which there is a condition known as pellagra, in which there is inflammation of the skin. So we can say that the symptoms of the carcinoid tumor include diarrhea, shortness of breath, flushing, and itching. These conditions can be worsened due to the consumption of alcohol and by emotional stress, because both these conditions, alcohol and emotional stress, causes stimulation of the neuroendocrine cells, and thus there is more production of hormones from the neuroendocrine cells. Now, how we can diagnose a carcinoid tumor? A carcinoid tumor can be diagnosed by medical imaging, including the CT scan and octreoscan. Octreoscan is a specialized scan in which we use the radio-labeled somatostatin. These radio-labeled somatostatin bind with somatostatin receptors on the surface of the neuroendocrine cells, and we can detect the tumor, and can also detect if there is any metastasis. Then we also do the urine analysis. In urine analysis, we can see increased concentration of 5-hydroxy indolactic acid, which is being released in the urine. Then blood tests are also performed, and in blood there is decrease in the concentration of niacin or vitamin B3. Now, how can we treat the carcinoid tumor? Carcinoid tumor can be treated by using somatostatin analogs, which bind with the somatostatin receptors and decreases, and in turn it decreases the formation of certain hormones, including the serotonin, which in turn decreases the symptoms, and the condition betters. Then there should also be decrease in emotional stress, and alcohol consumption should be prohibited. These tumors can also be treated by performing a surgery, and after surgery chemotherapy is directed. We have also discussed previously that these carcinoid tumors not only occur in stomach, they can occur in any part of the gastrointestinal tract. So there are different carcinoid tumors occurring in different parts. We will discuss them one by one. First of all, there is carcinoid tumor occurring in the esophagus. Carcinoid tumors occur very rarely in esophagus, and there are chances less than 1%. Mostly it occurs in the distal part of the esophagus. Now, what are the signs and symptoms? Symptoms include dysphagia, that is difficulty in swallowing. Then there is weight loss and reflux. Next, we have carcinoid tumor occurring in stomach. The fraction of carcinoid tumor in the stomach is less than 10%. These all the carcinoid tumors mostly occur at between the ages of 50 to 70 years. They occur during 5th and 6th decade of life. So the mean age of gastric carcinoid tumors is 55 years. Mostly it occurs in the body and fundus of the stomach, that is, it is involving the oxyntic mucosa of the stomach. If these tumors are multiple, then their sizes are mostly 1 to 2 centimeter, but if they are solitary, then they are mostly greater than 2 centimeter. Now, what are the hormones which are released from the carcinoid tumors of the stomach? These include histamine, somatostatin, and serotonin. The symptoms of the stomach carcinoid tumors are gastritis, that is inflammation, or there may be ulcer. Other diseases which are associated with the carcinoid tumors of the stomach include atrophic gastritis and multiple endocrine neoplasia type 1. Next, we have carcinoid tumors of the proximal duodenum. Their incidence is less than 10%. The mean age is 50 years. They mostly occur in the proximal part of the duodenum. Their size is 0.5 to 2 centimeter. The products which are released from these tumors are gastrin, somatostatin, and cholecystokinin. Now, what are the symptoms? These include peptic ulcer, biliary obstruction, and abdominal pain. Diseases which are associated with the carcinoid tumors of the proximal duodenum are Zollinger-Ellison syndrome, in which there is increased production of gastrin, and neurofibromatosis type 1. Next, we have carcinoid tumors of the jejunum and ileum. These are the most common carcinoid tumors, and their incidence is greater than 40%. Their fraction is greater than 40%. They mostly occurs at the age of 65, and they are involving full jejunum and ileum. They occur throughout jejunum and ileum. Their size is mostly less than 3.5 centimeter. The substances released from these tumors are serotonin, substance P, and polypeptides. Either they are asymptomatic, or there may be obstruction and metastasis. Next, we have carcinoid tumors associated with appendix. Their fraction is less than 25%. They can occur at any age. Mostly they are present at the tip of the appendix. Their size ranges from 0.2 to 1 centimeter. The substances released from these tumors are serotonin and polypeptides, and they are mostly asymptomatic. Next, we have carcinoid tumors of colon and rectum. Their fraction is greater than 25 centimeter, that is, they are second most common type of carcinoid tumors. Mean age is 60 years, and the carcinoid tumors occurring in rectum are far more greater as compared to the cecum. Then if the tumor is occurring in cecum, then it is greater in size, that greater than 5 centimeter, and if it is of rectum, then it will be less than 1 centimeter. Substances released from these tumors are serotonin and polypeptide Y. The symptoms include abdominal pain, weight loss. So these are the features of gastrointestinal carcinoid tumors. Next, we have the morphology of these tumors. The morphology of gastrointestinal tumors include the gross and the histology. First of all, we will discuss the gross features of these tumors. Grossly, when we see, then these tumors mostly occur intramurally, that is involving all the layers of the gastrointestinal tract, or they may occur in the submucosa. If they are occurring in the stomach, then they are involving the oxyntic mucosa of the stomach. These tumors are mostly yellow or tan in color, and uh, they are mostly tense and firm due to excessive desmoplastic reactions. Now, what is the histology of these tumors? Here we can see the histological picture of these tumors. This is these are the tumor cells, and here it is the tumor stroma. So here we have the tumor cells, and there is the tumor stroma. These are the specialized type of tumor cells where we can see the chromatin material inside these cells, and they have a granular cytoplasm. Here we can again see the cancerous cells. This is a neuroendocrine tumor of the small intestine. These are the neuroendocrine cells, and these neuroendocrine cells are showing the first of all there is cytoplasm of the cell, and then there is granular chromatin material inside the cells, which is showing the salt and pepper pattern. Again we have the carcinoid tumor. This is a tumor. This is a diagram which is showing all the layers of the gastrointestinal tract. This is mucosa, this is submucosa, and then there is muscular layer, and this carcinoid tumor is embedded into the submucosa. Then here we have again the carcinoid tumors, which is showing the tumor cells having salt and pepper pattern. The nuclear chromatin material is finely dispersed, and there is salt and pepper pattern. This is again the same tumor cells. In this diagram, first of all, we have shown the gross morphology, where we can see the firm texture of the tumor due to the presence of excessive desmoplasia. These tumors are yellow or tan in color. In the next diagram, we can see the microscopy of these tumors, in which there is intense fibrosis. In this diagram we can see individual cells having salt and pepper pattern, and this is the immunohistochemistry diagram, where we can see the granules, and these are the neurosecretory granules of synaptophysin and chromogranin A. Now the prognosis of the gastrointestinal carcinoid tumors depend upon the location of these tumors. If these carcinoid tumors are present in the foregut, that is they are if they are present in the esophagus or the stomach or the proximal part of the duodenum, proximal to the ligament of Treats, then there are rare chances that these tumors metastasize, and they can easily be cured by resection. The carcinoid tumors which occur without any predisposing factor, that is without any atrophic gastritis or autoimmune gastritis, are more aggressive as compared to carcinoid tumors which occur with predisposing factors. Then we have the midgut carcinoid tumors. Midgut carcinoid tumors occur in the jejunum and the ileum, and they are most aggressive carcinoid tumors, and they can invade and metastasize easily. Then we have hindgut carcinoid tumors. Hindgut carcinoid tumors mostly involve the colon, rectum, and the appendix. If they're occurring in the appendix, then they occur mostly at the tip of the appendix, and if they are present in the rectum or colon, then they can easily be identified because of the presence of abdominal pain, and they are very symptomatic. So there are less chances of aggressiveness and less chances of metastasis because they can easily be identified at early stages. So among these carcinoid tumors, the most aggressive and most metastatic tumors are the foregut carcinoid tumors. Thank you.